My name is Skip Murphy from Guilford, New Hampshire. Thank you for this time, but I can guarantee you that many of you will not like my testimony, as you may have already surmised. Let me begin with this quote from Daniel Henninger of the Wall Street Journal, who perfectly summarizes what we engineers call the root problem of progressive philosophy. The essence of modern democratic progressivism is this: you will participate in what we have created for you, and you will comply with the law's demands. Once again this session, Democrats are proposing yet another law that infringes both the Second Amendment and Article 2A, parts of our foundational and bedrock law of the land. It should be clear, as this t-shirt says, I will not comply, we will not comply. Why? Because you do not comply. Both in New Hampshire and across the nation, I see politicians refusing to honor their oaths of office to obey and defend both the letter and the spirit of the U.S. and New Hampshire constitutions. Words have meanings and words have power, but only if politicians heed them. I make the call, you are not. After all, it is clear that many of you in the collective have decided that there are laws which you yourselves have decided not to follow. A quick example is that of establishing sanctuary cities, counties, or states for illegal immigrants.
Mr. Murphy, we just
Yes,
want
sir.
to talk about this school.
Well, I am getting to that, sir. I promise you. If such local lawmakers decide to violate federal law, you send a message to the rest of us that we can now also decide to follow your examples, else you are hypocrites. Let me repeat this. The ramifications of such examples should be self-evident. If you are not willing to follow the constitutions which we on the right cherish, if you are not willing to follow federal law, why should we follow state law you create? If you pick and choose,
Again, would you
why?
just speak to the bill?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize. We heard one lady speak, almost, read in testimony from, I think it was a 17, 13-year-old girl, about Parkland, Florida, and other areas. There was no issue with not talking about the bill. I don't think her whole testimony talked about the bill.
Well, thank you for your I believe that, I will just say that I think Parkland was discussing a school shooting, and a school shooting seems to be germane to this bill. I'm not sure that we talk about sanctuary cities, that's part of this legislation. That's all. I just want.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
not
Chairman.
trying- I just want
Mr.
to-
Chairman, let me tie it together for you. I will deviate from my testimony.
That's fine.
My family is part of the opioid epidemic here in New Hampshire. My son served a year's tour in Afghanistan with the 101st Airborne. He came home with severe PTSD, exacerbating other problems that he had before going into the service. Came home self-medicating, severe PTSD. Unfortunately, he helped to bear a child that was both alcohol infused, opiate infused, had to spend two weeks in NICU after being born 2 months early. He has been diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome. At 3 years old, he is doing better, thank you God, but I have to take him to school every single week for both speech, for which he is developmentally delayed, and occupational therapy, which he is also developmentally delayed. Every week I go into that school. I consider the emotional appeals that I've heard already today. Let me reverse that for you. How would I feel, how would my grandson feel if somebody came into that school and his bumper couldn't protect him? I do carry, because of the result of constitutional carry here in New Hampshire. Further, however, I have a New Hampshire pistol revolver license that allows me to carry concealed. As a class, those who have CCW, or in this case, revolver pistol licenses, we are an order of magnitude more law-abiding than even law enforcement officers. Not only that, having gone through that background, I have gone through a further background because I possess what are called NFA devices, the National Fireworks, I've just forgotten. Firearms Act. So I have had to undergo a very deep background. And for this bill to tell me that I am not worthy to protect my grandson, if somebody was to come in and shoot up that school, how am I supposed to look at his grandmother and say, I could do nothing? How could I look at him when he looks at me as the good guy and says, Bumpa, why can't you do anything? I resent this act that by the death of 1,000 legislative cuts continues to harm and infringe my constitutional right. You talk about emotion. I am responsible for my emotions right now. I am not responsible for anybody else's, nor are they for mine. I care about the Constitution and the rights that it gives me to protect me and mine. I am sorry if I've gotten a little exuberant here, but this is extremely important. I will pass on reading the rest of this testimony, but I ask that you read it because those of us on the right keep seeing acts which continue to say, we're going to tell you how to live, where you are going to live, and you have to put up with it. There is a growing concern across the United States where you are seeing people saying, I will not comply. They have said, we've had enough of the social engineering, we've had enough of the diminishment of our rights, and we are now pushing back. And you are seeing that all over. You've heard lots of testimony. What takes precedence? Constitutional values or emotions?
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much for letting me testify.
Very welcome.
Croc TV.